I will now call to order the 2021-2022 Budget Committee for the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District. I will ask that the Budget Committee members introduce themselves, followed by the BCC. Christina.
We do have 3 members online. Eric, if you'd like to go first.
I'm Eric Shawn, member of the Budget Committee.
Okay. Luca, if you'd like to go next.
Good morning, Luca Dorito, second year in the Budget Committee.
Okay, and Macy.
I'm Macy Gast, a longtime member of the Budget Committee.
Gary, you're up next.
Yeah, so apologies to the public members. We did ask that if you were to chair the meeting, you please attend in person. It is very difficult for you to chair from the Zoom format. Great apologies to you. We had a miscommunication on our end. So because of that, we're changing your scripts. Those of you that have a script, one of the Board of County Commissioners will chair the meeting as they are present in the room. Again, sorry about that, but that's something we did say before we came into practice last week. Thank you, Chair.
With that in mind, I, Chair Tootie Smith, will be the chair of this committee. But we need a, let me see, I'm reading the script, secretary. I will ask for nominations for NCPRD Budget Secretary.
This is Luca Dorito. I nominate Eric Shawn for secretary.
Do I hear a second?
I second that.
A motion has been made to nominate Eric Shawn for secretary. It has been seconded. I'll now call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Seeing none. The vote has been approved for Eric Shaw as secretary. I will now ask for Sarah Ekman, Interim Director of Business and Community Services, to present the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Smith. Yes, I'm Sarah Ekman. I'm the Interim Director with Business and Community Services, and North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District is a part of our department until July 1st, so we have some upcoming change. I'm pleased to present the budget for North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District. Fiscal year 21-22, I would like to thank the Budget Committee for their work to support the district, and also would like to take a minute to introduce our leadership team and staff who are on the Zoom call. In here in person is Candy Ho, our acting NCPRD Director. Online on Zoom, we have Elizabeth Gomez, Financial Operations Officer, Kevin Kaysen, Parks and Facilities Manager, Heather Cook, Acting Planning and Development Manager, Jason Kemerick, Aquatic and Recreation Supervisor, Joe Loomis, Sports Supervisor, and Marty Hanley, Milwaukee Center Supervisor. As you can tell, we have a large, complex budget, and we'll be going through a lot of information today. So I will be walking us through all of that, and then our very experienced and knowledgeable staff will be available with me for questions. NCPRD, the acronym for North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District, is a service district of Clackamas County and a division of BCS. The mission is to enrich community vitality and promote healthy living through parks and recreation. We have 5 lines of business or programs: administration, recreation, older adult services, parks, trails, and natural areas, and asset development. The total budget for 21-22 is $38.3 million, which is a 16% increase over the fiscal year 2021 budget of $33 million. The primary driver for this growth is the increase in funding for capital projects, and the budget includes 34.8 FTE. Next slide, please. Over the past year, NCPRD has provided services to the community during a time of considerable difficulty. Since March of 2020, the district has dealt with not only the pandemic, but also wildfires and the ice storm. Throughout the year, we have prioritized bringing services to the community when they needed them the most. These services help sustain our community throughout the year, and we're very proud of all we've accomplished despite a very challenging year. The NCPRD administration program includes the Office of the Director, Financial Management, Budgeting, Marketing, and Communications. We developed and implemented a new chart of accounts, published our 3rd annual report highlighting the good work done by all of our programs. And throughout all of our programs, we kept the community informed on safety protocols for all of our facilities and programs as they related to COVID. The recreation program includes recreation, sports, aquatic, and facility rentals. In 2021, we navigated Oregon Health Authority guidance and served 161 children in summer camps. We offered virtual classes, which included yoga, Zumba, low-impact aerobics, Spanish, and writing to over 100 participants. We developed and offered 4 virtual programs for speed, agility, and quickness and Hooper's basketball skills. Served over 1,400 NCPRD residents at the first annual drive-through Boo Bash event, virtual winter celebrations, Santa visits, and Chinese New Year celebration. The aquatic park also served over 1,300 swimmers during our 4-week opening in the fall and reopened with limited capacity a year later from COVID start in March of 2021. In older adult services, we include the Milwaukee Center Nutrition Program and Transportation Program. We averaged an all-time high of 250 meals per day for the Meals on Wheels program and did not miss a single delivery day even through the fire, smoke, ice, and wind events of the past year. We maintained fundraising for the Meals on Wheels program with drive-through community events and the annual March for Meals fundraiser. We've provided free tax assistance in partnership with AARP in a safe manner with no person-to-person contact. Next slide, please. In our parks, trails, and natural areas, we include parks maintenance, natural resources, and trails management. For a high-level overview of our department, we maintained 32 parks and 9.5 miles of trails, and this includes the 6-mile trolley trail, the aquatic park, Hoodview Park, Milwaukee Center, and acres of natural areas. There are several items listed here, which range from replacing fencing at the North Clackamas Park Dog Run, implementing COVID-19 measures throughout our programs, replacing foul ball netting over spectator areas at North Clackamas Park, building soft surface trails in 2 places along the east boundary at North Clackamas Park to access the overlook and at Robert Kronberg Park. We opened the 5.8-acre park at Boardman Wetlands and performed major debris and hazard tree work due to the February ice storm. Our asset development program includes planning, capital projects, system development charges, and capital repair and replacement. In this past year, we completed the master plan and 90% of the schematic design for a park, community center, and library at the Concord property in partnership with the Oak Lodge Library. We have prepared a new contract for Milwaukee Bay Park project construction manager, general contractor, known as CMGC, as NCPRD launched the pre-construction phase. We've progressed the funding commitments for future construction work at Milwaukee Bay Park and collaborated with the City of Milwaukee to determine potential ways to connect to a pedestrian pathway along Kellogg Creek between Dogwood Park and Southeast McLaughlin Boulevard. Next slide, please. Our Performance Clackamas slide offers a high-level overview of our measures. The administration program measures the impact of social media, and we target 10% increases annually. The project performance for this past fiscal year is 2%. This slow growth is attributed to a lack of programs and services being offered due to the effects of COVID-19. The recreation program measures the impact of program offerings and the percentage of satisfied program participants. These measures help staff make decisions about community desires and program offerings. We target 2% growth annually. And due to all of the closures this past year, we had very limited programming available. But despite this, 95% of program participants who responded to our surveys rated NCPRD programs as satisfactory or better. Our older adult services program measures the percentage of Meals on Wheels that are funded through contributions and fundraising. The nutrition program has a goal of being self-sufficient and covering 100% of its total operating budget without utilizing general tax funding. We receive federal reimbursements and rely on fundraising events, including March for Meals, client donations, and gifts from the community at large, in addition to support from the NCPRD General Fund. During 2021, 100% of the program expenses were covered without support from the NCPRD General Fund. Our Parks, Trails, and Natural Areas program measures the percentage of maintenance work orders completed within 7 days. In the last fiscal year, we completed 97% of those within 7 days of receipt. And lastly, the Asset Development Program measures the percentage of project phases completed, which includes acquisition, planning, design, and construction. The program targets 33% of program phases completed annually, and for 2021, we are projected to reach this target. Next slide, please. The program profiles provide a high-level overview of the programs within NCPRD. You can see that budgets for each program range from just over $1 million to more than $13 million. There are no general or county general fund dollars in any of these programs. Some do have 100% restricted funds, and all programs except for one have at least some. Our administration program budget totals just over $7 million with no restricted funds received. The recreation program is a little over $4 million. Private donations and contributions total approximately 0.2% of revenues. The older adult services program budget is $1.3 million, and social service grants, which include Title III, Oregon Americans Act, Oregon State Health and Wellness, Medicaid, TriMet, and State of Oregon, and private donations and contributions total approximately 38.37% of our revenues. The Parks, Trails, and Natural Areas program budget is $3.1 million. SDCs, grants, and private donations and contributions total approximately 4.76% of this revenue. And the Asset Development Program, which includes the SDCs and debt budget, totals $22,771,000. SDCs, grants, Metro local share, and private donations and contributions total approximately 95.53% of the revenue. Next slide, please. Now we have the pie charts, so moving into more numbers. The total department budget for this coming fiscal year is $38.3 million. As I mentioned earlier, this is a 16% increase over last year's budget of $33 million. And the primary driver for this growth is the increase in funding for capital projects. The beginning fund balance, you'll notice is noticeable on here, is $22.6 million with interfund transfers of $4.8 million. They're not included in this calculation. These transfers have a zero net effect on resources and requirements of funds, but are budgeted in accordance with Oregon budget law. As you can see, the capital outlay is the majority of the expenditures. Next slide, please. The summary of revenue and expenses gives more detail. NCPRD's primary revenue sources are from property taxes, charges for services, and system development charges, or SDCs. Other revenue sources include interest, donations, and grants. We've budgeted approximately $6.35 million for property tax revenue, and we forecast an approximated 95% collection on property taxes. Federal, state, and local grants and donations are estimated to be $1.5 million. The Asset Development Program is budgeted to receive $1.3 million in grant funding from local and state grants for the Milwaukee Bay Park project. SDCs collected in the city of Milwaukee and the unincorporated areas of the district are expected to hold steady and are estimated to be approximately $650,000. Charges for services are expected to bring in $1.7 million, and other revenue sources include interest and miscellaneous income, which will total approximately $760,000. Our budgeted materials and services expenditures are expected to decrease slightly from fiscal year 2021, reflecting minor reductions in utility expenses. You'll see our personnel services do increase 3.5%. These are contracted through Clackamas County, and they have increased due to minimum wage requirements and are budgeted within our materials and services line. We did transfer a project manager position from NCPRD to Business and Community Services and have added one FTE for a senior planner for the district. Capital outlay includes both capital improvement projects and capital repair and replacement. The budgeted expenditures for this category have increased approximately $2.9 million from fiscal year 2021. In the coming fiscal year, two major projects, Concord Property and the Milwaukee Bay Park, are scheduled for design development and possible start of construction. We have concentrated the capital repair and replacement projects to those that will maintain safety, security, and longevity of our district facilities. One last keynote we'd like to be sure we share with you is that the remaining debt was paid in full in fiscal year 19-20, and we have not budgeted for debt in fiscal year 21-22. This saves the district general fund approximately $500,000 annually. Additionally, we have not budgeted for a transfer from the general fund to the capital repair and replacement fund, saving an additional $900,000 annually. This does save us general fund money for NCPRD, but will continue to slowly erode the capital repair and replacement funding. This approach to funding capital asset repair and replacement is not a sustainable model, and we will need to address it in the coming years. Next slide, please. So as we see through this department summary by fund, our total budget request for the coming year is $38,352,943. It's relatively static from last fiscal year with a slight reduction to materials and services. In summary, there's a 3.5 increase in personnel services, and we have 35 full-time employees and hire hundreds of part-time temporary employees annually. The asset development program has increased approximately 43% due to the capital projects I've mentioned. It's mainly due to the design and construction work planned for both the Concord property and Milwaukee Bay Park. In addition to these projects, there are 7 other capital improvement projects which we do have scheduled for 21-22. System development charges, which are part of our asset development program, have a total budget of $9,180,393. These SDCs are charges levied on new construction to help pay for additional expenses created by the growth. SDCs are only transferred to the capital projects fund on a reimbursement basis after the expenditures are approved. Debt, which is also part of our asset development program, has no budget, as I mentioned, due to being paid in full in 19 and 20. Next slide. We've listed our main policy and our financial issue here as the impacts from the COVID-19 pandemic. This did cause us to close facilities and cancel significant programming. We've offered limited in-person and virtual programs as much as possible, but it has had a significant impact on our revenue in 2021. However, staff were able to find savings, mostly in part-time temporary workers, to mitigate losses. We are continuing to monitor the situation, and following Oregon Health Authority and Clackamas County guidelines, will offer expanded programming as we're able. Next slide. And this concludes our formal presentation.
Thank you, Sarah. Does the Budget Committee have any questions or points of clarification for the budget presenters?
I have a question for, I think the administrator primarily, and then perhaps Sarah can answer. So Gary, typically what I've heard in government budgeting, I've heard it here and I've heard you say it, is that if it's in the budget and it's a budget and it's approved by the budget, it therefore is approved, basically. So in regard, I want to draw, so with that, my question is that relatively accurate?
Yes, with the understanding that you can do supplemental budgets throughout the year to change those after the budget is adopted.
Okay, so thank you. So if you draw your attention to page 65 of the document, you'll see a chart like this. And I just want to, for the record, and maybe this can be documented in the minutes, just so it's clear, the NCPRD formed a task force committee to look at the SDCs a couple of years ago, or 3 years ago, 3 years ago. And the committee voted to end the zones, the SDC zones. And so that was approved, and then that was sent to City of Milwaukee, and the City of Milwaukee, who's a partner in the district, also approved that. But apparently, as I learned much later, it was not approved by the Board of Directors, that being us. So whether that was just a mistake or an oversight, but it was under the assumption that Zone 1 and 2 don't exist, or 3, especially with the exit of Happy Valley. So I just want to point that out. If you also look, that you'll see that Zone 1 is broken into 2 areas, Zone 1 Milwaukee proper, and then Zone 1 UGMA. And if you look at the 1.326 million in SDCs that are listed here for this particular project, those were derived from the unincorporated area prior, by the way, prior to the UGMA change that was approved years back. So actually, those were actually Zone 2 SDCs, which when the UGMA was changed, became SDC Zone 1 Milwaukee UGMA, and they're going to be part of this. But everywhere we have approved anything to do with this project, we've had some mention in the documents before the Board of Directors for NCPRD. We cited that it was contingent upon agreements yet to come. So it would seem proper that this, on this page, page 69, and on page 65, that there be an asterisk put on there, pending agreements. It would seem that to be consistent with everything the Board of Directors has said this year and has said last year with regards to that. That is something, and the appropriations of these dollars, just for the record, were actually never developed by the District Advisory Board. And, you know, this has really been perhaps a partnership between the district staff and the city of Milwaukee. You know, the DAB was apprised of this, but they had always flagged it for something to come back for discussion and approval, citing that, you know, there's very limited SDCs that are available for unincorporated areas, and being that these were derived from originally unincorporated areas, that there be some kind of mechanism or replenishing in the future. So I think those agreements get there, but I think it should be cited there, at least on these pages, because getting back to my original question to Mr. Schmidt, if it's in the budget, it therefore becomes approved. And that's my concern. So we have inconsistency there. You have any suggestions, Gary, other than an asterisk?
I would say, and staff, correct me if you disagree or add to this, that you're approving the budget today, but the capital project plan is something that's separate. I mean, you're funding the capital project plan, but if the Board of Directors adopts or revises that plan over the coming year, then you would do a supplemental budget to then change the budget numbers. So I hear what you're saying, though, Commissioner, so would someone like to add to this, please? Add to it.
Yeah, I would just generally agree in concept. We can certainly, you know, as needed, make notations in our budget documentation if that provides additional clarity. But yes, we would go through a supplemental budget process if there were changes, and we certainly are communicating with you all early and often to make sure that you're fully apprised of all of these projects so that we know which direction the board approves of us going with them. And so we do have several upcoming policy sessions for that, and we'll continue to do that.
Well, so Gary, just to correct that, on page 75, you'll see on the budget document for the budget line 47750, the appropriations being made in the budget document, Gary. So therefore, that's why I request that the asterisk be put in there on all those pages.
Chair,
Yes?
I just wanted to add, this is Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director for the county, that Commissioner Savas, I hear your concern. You know, I do want to remind everyone that we do take each of these vendor construction projects, programs back to the commission for approval. So there is an opportunity to review and vet each of these projects identified.
Yeah, I understand that. I guess that was my first question to Gary was, I have heard that if it's in the budget, it's done. So absent an asterisk and absent any other thing in here, I think that is inconsistent with all the actions we've taken where it's been mentioned in all the contract approvals, and including on Thursday of last week, that we in kind have a mention of those contingencies.
So for the budget adoptions, we have our appropriations, and it's a dollar amount, not necessarily the particulars. So what we'll be doing as a budget adoption activity is approving and adopting the dollar capacity that can be spent. That is Oregon budget law, not necessarily these particular activities within that, but the adoption is for the specific dollar amount to stay within Oregon budget law.
And just for anyone, members of the Budget Committee, just so people know, I am supportive of the project, but this is just one detail and some other contractual details that need to be sorted out that have taken a little bit longer than we anticipated. I thought that we have been resolved by now, but they have not been.
Sure, we can put an asterisk in the documents. I don't see any harm in that. Elizabeth?
We certainly can. We want our budgets to be our plan, best foot forward. But within the dollar amount Oregon budget law, we can revise those plans throughout. And that's where it comes back to the commissioners for that final approval of how those dollars are actually spent. So what you'll be doing in June is saying, we're going to allow this amount of dollars to be spent. That's the appropriation. And so as the year goes through, those plans can change. So the budget document is really, it's that what we know now, and then as the year goes through, they may change. As we had with COVID year, everything changed. And so our budget document was best at the time it was written, and then we proceed through the year with the reality of what can happen.
Yep, I totally understand that, Elizabeth, from a budget perspective. What we're dealing with is not a budget problem. This is actually a contractual thing that we need to get resolved. So I just don't want this to be used as an acceptance and approval, and I don't want any confusion over that. So I think that's why I think the asterisk is appropriate. It doesn't change the budget aspects, it just has a mention of it.
In the document, that can certainly be added for the formal adopted document.
Certainly.
Is that it, Commissioner Savas?
Yes, it is, thank you.
Christina, we have somebody online with a question.
Yes, Eric Shawn has his hand up. Eric, go ahead.
Thank you. I have three comments that I wanted to add. First of all, I want to commend the district for having the goal of not deferring maintenance of infrastructure. Maintaining the infrastructure is essential. And second, I want to recognize the district's challenge of operating with a static tax base in a world of rising cost. These are challenging times. And third, I appreciate everything that the district staff are doing to respond to these amazing times. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your comments. Any more comments from the Budget Committee members on this?
Chair, I have one question.
Commissioner Scholl.
Yes, Sarah Ekman, your budget has a 16% increase over last year, correct?
Correct.
That most of that goes to capital improvement, but 3.5% of that is for personnel costs, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's, of that 3.5%, does that include just regular employees, or does it also include temp and part-time personnel in that 3.5%?
Okay, it does include all staff. And we, as mentioned in the presentation, our increase in minimum wage has significantly impacted that, but it does include both our permanent staff and our temporary staff.
And there's no other items on the budget that are included in that 16%, just personnel increase and capital projects?
I believe so. Is there anything? Let's look here. Okay, nothing of significance.
Okay.
We could certainly, with the budget, there's ebbs and flows in terms of, there might be slight areas of nominal increase, but overall, we have a slight decrease other than those costs.
Seeing no further comments, I will now open a public hearing and receive public testimony. Anyone wishing to testify in the room, please come forward, state your name. I see none. Dylan, do you have anybody online?
Yes, Chair, I do. Now is the time for public comment on the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District budget. If you're a member of the public you would like to comment, please hit the raise hand feature on Zoom now at the top or bottom, depending on your device. Chair Smith, I believe we do have one hand up. Would you like to limit testimony to 3 minutes?
Yes, I would.
Very good. Okay, Grover Jeffrey Bornfeld, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, and please provide your name and area of residence, and then you have 3 minutes with the committee.
Hi, my name is Grover Jeffrey Bornefeld, and I live in Jennings Lodge, which is in sub-area 1 of the NCPRD district. I'm also a newly elected member of the soon-to-be convened District Advisory Committee. One of the things I want to do is actually echo what Eric just said about thanks and appreciation for the ability to stay within budget and operate within our costs. One of the things I'm particularly interested in is expanding the appreciation for our Parks and Recreation Department across the district, so more people might be inclined to see the value that they receive and consider what is appropriate to help with that funding. I also would like to echo the concerns of Commissioner Savas very specifically, because I do know that there have been a number of previous and up till now times that those funds have, that Commissioner Savas referred to, have been included in projections, et cetera, and they have not yet been passed by and had the District Advisory Committee, because it was in abeyance, had a chance to actually weigh in on that and give thought to it from a whole district perspective, because I appreciate the funding in those areas is particularly important. We need to look at it so that the one district, and I couldn't agree with him more about the comments about, I attended the meeting when it was decided that zones would be eliminated, and Milwaukee concurred with their letter, resolution, et cetera, and yet it hasn't happened. So my concern is since this particular topic that Mr. Savas brought up is related to that we need to have the District Advisory Committee address that as soon as practical. So going forward, instead of assuming those are already approved fundings, they haven't been advised yet. And so I'd like to at least have that advisement be a specific part of how it goes forward, including the asterisk. So I'd possibly in the asterisk include that is to be reviewed and advice from the District Advisory Committee. There's one thing that we have accomplished, and really thank you to the BCC for your support of this. We now have representation throughout the district. And so the proportional representation from all corners will be included. And having that, we can support having one district that is equitable across the entire district. And again, don't want to forget what Eric had to say. Kudos to all those who have gotten us to where we are to this point. And also very much looking forward to having a new director on board in near future as well to help us launch the next chapter. We have 30 years to get to this point, and we're heading into a future that I see as bright and with a lot of possibility for the North Clackamas Parks and Rec. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Grover. Chair Smith, I see no other hands up.
Thank you, Dylan. I will now close the public hearing portion of this meeting, and I will call for a motion to approve the budget from Luca Dorito.
I move that the committee approve the 2021-2022 budget as presented in the amount of $38,352,943 for North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District, and impose the maximum permanent tax rate of $0.5382 per $1,000 of assessed value within district boundaries.
I second.
A motion has been made and seconded to approve the budget. I will now call for a vote.
I've had my card up for quite a while.
Sorry, Paul, I didn't see it.
Yeah, no
I'm
worries.
not used to
I had
that.
it up while the hearing was still open, by the way. That's okay. I just want to echo, and I may not have been perfectly clear, but when I mentioned the asterisk, obviously an explanation as to what that is contingent upon. So whatever that language is, you craft, but Mr. Bornefeld did properly point out that there should be some language, and I inferred that, but I wasn't perfectly clear. I want to make sure that that is. That is all.
Any other comments on this budget? Seeing none, Christina, would you call the poll, please?
Yes. Macy Gast,
Aye.
Luca Dorito,
Aye.
Eric Shaw,
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader. Aye. Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
and Chair Smith.
Aye, the motion has been approved. Very good.
Hey, Commissioner Fisher is here and
Oh,
votes
I'm sorry,
aye.
Commissioner Fisher. I missed you.
She's
Commissioner
back.
Fisher?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. We did not know you were there. The ayes have approved the motion.
So Chair, just one point of clarification. On the motion, was that considered an amendment? The asterisk considered an amendment? And is that necessary, or should it just be called out?
I don't know, Paul. I don't understand an asterisk to begin with. I think you're trying to make a point. I hope everybody in the room understands your point. I think the motion is fairly clear. Gary, can you help us?
I don't believe an amendment is necessary. We will make the motion. You asked for it. It does not change the numbers, but it'll be in the document that will be for the Board of Directors when you approve in June. So
Okay, thank you.
I'm saying you're fine.
Is there any other business before this board today? I would like to thank our volunteer members who are on the Zoom meeting today. Your service is much appreciated. I also want to thank the budget presenters for coming today. I will adjourn this meeting.